of his legs he couldn't move, and he thought he was paralyzed. The case settled after a mediation for $6 million. So our firm represented a 35-year-old union laborer who was working in Brooklyn on a construction project where they were rewiring some utilities in Brooklyn. He was working in a prefabricated box, which was about 10 feet below the street level where this conduit and wiring was, when his supervisor asked him to get out of the box. So he finished what he was doing, put his materials down, began to go up a ladder that was about 14 feet tall to get out of this box. And when he was about 4 or 5 feet above the bottom of the concrete box, the ladder slid out from under him. He fell backwards and fell to the bottom of the box. He landed on his lower back and his butt and his legs. He immediately felt a really sharp pain to his lower back and to his legs. One of his legs he couldn't move, and he thought he was paralyzed. It turned out he actually broke the first vertebral body in his lumbar spine, L1. He also had a herniated disc at L5-S1, which is the bottom of the lumbar spine, and a herniation at another level in the lumbar spine. He had surgery about 2 months after the accident. Luckily, he was relatively okay going forward. He still had really bad low back pain that was radiating down his legs, and ultimately he had to have a fusion to one of the levels that had a herniated disc, as well as a whole host of other surgical interventions. And he had a lot of numbness, trouble walking. He had a cane. Up until this day, he still occasionally will walk with a cane. Shortly after the accident, he wasn't able to go back to work. He had been working with the company he was working for a while, and shortly after the accident, he stopped working for them, tried to get another job, couldn't get another job. His friend ultimately hired him as a truck driver, so he was doing that for a while, but ultimately his leg, especially his right leg, which is the leg that he used to control the gas pedal and the brake, became so weak that he couldn't do that kind of work anymore. Just getting in and out of the truck and traveling, the day-to-day activities that he was expected to do, he couldn't do. The client was very upset that he couldn't teach his son how to play soccer. He couldn't pick his daughter up and bring her upstairs to put her to sleep at night. When his children, especially his young son, wanted to do something with him, he often, if not always, had a lot of trouble doing it because of his low back injuries. Our client really suffered financially. Shortly after the accident, he had to sell his house. He took out as much money from his 401k as he had. For a while, he didn't know how or where he was going to live. New York has one of the most favorable laws protecting construction workers in America. So from the beginning, we had our eyes set on making a prima facie case under New York Labor Law 240 subsection 1, which basically says that if you're a construction worker and you're doing certain types of jobs, the owner and general contractor of a construction project has to give you certain safety devices to do elevated work. This client was about 4 to 5 feet above the floor of the prefabricated box. So he's in an elevated position. He required a ladder in order to do his job, specifically get out of the prefabricated box. Our argument was that the ladder failed him. The ladder was not secure. When the client got on the ladder and was going up, the ladder came out from the depression and slid down, causing his accident. So our argument under Labor Law 240 was the client was involved in a covered activity doing work at a construction site where the statute applied. He required an elevation device that was not secured, and therefore the owner and the general contractor were liable for his injuries. There was definitely an argument that was trying to be made that the client was the only person responsible for this accident. So what I did during the deposition of this one particular witness whose testimony was going to support that theory was I made sure I knew every statement he had given to anybody about this accident prior to his deposition. What I couldn't believe during the deposition was that the testimony at the deposition was 180 degrees different, in stark contrast to a statement that the witness had given shortly after the accident. And the witness who was being deposed was our client's supervisor. So when I got the chance to ask this witness questions, I made sure that I confirmed with the witness that his memory was better immediately after the accident than it was 2 years after the accident. He agreed with me. I asked the witness whether his first statement that he gave was true. The witness answered yes, and then I pulled up the statement, and nowhere in the statement from immediately after the accident had the witness said that our client was not following directions or was doing anything that he wasn't supposed to be doing. In fact, it said nothing like that. And so the witness was either mistaken or was not telling the truth. That was one of the key moments in the case. We moved for summary judgment under our theory, which was that the defendants violated Labor Law 240, subsection 1, and the judge who was hearing our arguments agreed with us. And so once we won summary judgment with a case where we had really, really significant injuries, both financial injuries and physical injuries, the defendants and our firm, we were able to discuss potentially resolving the case. The case settled after a mediation for $6 million. With the settlement, the client has the ability now to have a lot more independence that he didn't have. It took a weight off of him, and it gave him the agency and the free will and the independence that he had lost because of the defendant's negligence. If you have a ladder accident or a construction accident, you really want a firm that handles this type of work routinely, knows what to look for, knows how to make the right arguments, how to obtain the right documents and discovery, and ultimately knows how to build a record that's going to help you get summary judgment or get maximum compensation.